Commission. I hope possibly Bill Grant does. And then we have a tree tenders meeting next week, and I'm going to see if I can encourage some people from that group to join. Because I basically would like people that have tree backgrounds somewhat already to try to, but
Dolores, what did you guys do?
okay, I did.
2020.
I put together and some things to speak about tonight. Let me see. I got lost you for a minute. So in 2020, in the spring of, we had a shade tree commission. I wasn't in charge yet, but things were shut down. And remember, we had a meeting in March. We were going to make a lot of plans, and we were looking forward to that. And then COVID came, and we didn't have any meetings over the summer. Then in the fall, we did do a double order of trees. Here's Evan Hunt. He's a tree tender. And we got some trouble with getting them all planted. That is, I was just appointed head in October, and we discussed place to plant them. And, you had said Wellington Road would be a good spot. So we ordered trees for that spot, and I put together a detailed map of where they might be planted, and I submitted them for look at 811 approval. And I first tried calling Joe Martin. Didn't get call back, so I tried calling twice. Then I emailed him with a map, and he said he'd look into it after a couple emails. And then I didn't hear anything. It turns out he was out because of COVID. And then when he came back, he said he'd look into it. And what happened is, when we picked up the trees on November 19th, I don't think anybody had checked out those spots yet. So they checked them out, I think, the day after we picked them up. And it turned out that those spots aren't plantable because there's a sewer pipe there. And it was too late to start looking for new tree spots at that point because winter's coming. So they sat around, and with a lot of pressure, I finally got them temporarily planted in Nailers Run Park around the mulch area so that they can make it through the winter and get replanted this year. But what I heard from Bill Grant, speaking to him, is that he could never find anyone to help him. That's one thing I have on my list for tonight, that we need some kind of the chain of communication with the township for the shade tree activities. Now, it used to be when we had the leisure department person was sort of like the coordinator with the Shade Tree Commission, and that would have been John McMullen and Sue Elder before him. So without that person there, I'm certainly willing to call the township and coordinate, but I guess they need to recognize all of that, and I need to get responses from people, at least in some kind of a timely manner. So that was one of my first points to bring up tonight, so that we're all on the same page. And we've always had tree plantings every spring and fall, and usually there's a crew of township personnel comes out and does it. So I hope that will continue, and we won't be problematic to get that.
So I think Dolores, one thing that we could do is, we have these trees that are at Nailers Run that need to be planted. So maybe, why don't we try and decide where they should be planted in the spring?
I've got some ideas. I don't know if you could share this. Okay, I've got the list of trees. Now, I asked Bill Grant, because he had initially said he had some spots for trees, but when I talked to him yesterday, he said no. So usually he has. So my thought was a couple could go. There's one variety that's a beautiful large tree, a front yard linden. It's supposed to be good and low maintenance. So I thought perhaps Sellers Library could take one of those. And there's also a dead hollow tree in Nailers Run Park in the general across the creek from where the playground is. So maybe that tree could be taken out and one could be put there. So that leaves like 15 more trees. Now, we have been since 2008 slowly planting the Westchester Pike median. I could find spots for those trees there, and that would pretty much complete the median from Township Line Road down with trees. There's some open areas still, and so that would be easy to do with these 17 trees, and we could just do it in March. Once it gets warm enough, we could mark the spots, get them checked, and do them whenever, when's a good day, a good week, when they have a good time to do that. So I could see doing that with those. And then the question comes up, PHS is going to be offering trees again for the spring, and we can get up to 12 trees for $50 each. Do we want to come up with another project? Is there other areas we can think of for doing that? Unfortunately, those orders are going to be due February 12th. The trees come in at the end of April, but that's what they told me. I haven't gotten the order form yet, so I don't know what varieties they're offering. And it is possible that the order form might have been sent to the township somewhere. See, this John McMullen used to get these things. So I could check with PHS and tell them to send it to me, but I haven't seen it yet. So that would be something for us to think about right away. Because those trees, we could get the 17 planted in March, and then the next trees wouldn't come in until the end of April. So
I guess this is going to be sort of like a casual kind of rebuilding
right
meeting. And I think until we find someone to take the place of John McMullen, if you don't mind, I will be the liaison.
Sure.
And all that.
Now, I don't know, given we just have, let me see, it's mid-January, we have the next 3.5 weeks or so to create some new plans that Clyde was supposed to call in, and he was gonna maybe think of some things, but I guess he didn't get here yet.
We can do, so in general, like these meetings, and there's more of them this year, right? We have more meetings.
Yeah, every other month, and we can also have smaller meetings in between as necessary.
Right. Like they wouldn't be public meetings because they're not advertised, and they would be, but we need like an agenda, and I'll work with you on that.
Yeah.
And try and get.
I did type up an agenda for tonight, and so these things are on it that we're talking about now.
Oh, okay. Is it possible for you to share it?
Yeah, is there a share screen? There we go. And I'll bring my screen to the front. Now, I have Microsoft Word share screen. Is that coming up? Share.
Laura started sharing. Oh, okay. Wow.
Well, because when I typed it, I typed in my thoughts. It makes it easier. So we just discussed this first part, chain of communications with a township and the leisure department coordinator, that there were mishaps with the tree spots this fall, and Bill Grant needs support when there's a project. Then we just discussed briefly the 17 remaining trees. I said it could be done in March. The median Westchester Pike could pretty much take them up and we would be done. But I would like to consider putting the 2 front yard linden trees, maybe one in Sellers Library area, one in Nailers Park where there's a dead tree. There's also about 2 trees that need to be taken out that are dying on the Westchester Pike median. So that maybe that could all happen in March. And we could talk about that again at our March 11th meeting. Like we could finalize that.
No, let's try and finalize it.
Okay, well, we can finalize the idea now, but then I could go and I've already eyeballed some spots, but I could get more specific with them. And I was thinking I could mark the spots with Bill Grant because they need to clarify the addresses and call 811 to make sure that those spots don't have anything under them. So does that sound good?
Yeah. So we should make some plans because I meet with Joe Martin every week. So
okay.
We start planning now for the planting
in March. Now, every now and then we get winter in March. I'm hoping we won't, but so we'll have to, couple summers we've gotten like snow, but we can at least, I think we could probably do it. We can mark the spots, and who knows, could even be summery in March, the way things go.
Yeah.
Okay, so that takes care of those 17 trees.
Wait. No, I need to write this
Okay,
down.
go back.
So you have 17 trees that weren't planted this fall.
Right. And here's the types. Here they are up here. Two the acer, that's a type of maple, Acer rubrum. The Cherchis canadensis, that's a redbud tree, small tree. Two skyline locusts, they do well on the median. Then these are these 6 snow-capped tree lilacs and these 2 front yard lindens. Initially, the snow-capped lilacs and the red buds had been purchased because they're smaller for Wellington Road, but we can't put them there, so we can put them other places.
There are plenty of places to,
Yeah.
but let's go through that. So you said 2 for the library, 2 for cellars.
Well, either 2 for cellars or 1 for cellarism. It doesn't matter however many would fit. I was thinking putting 1 front yard linden in cellars and 1 in Nailers Run Park, or we could put 2 in cellars. We have to take a look and look at the spots.
I was thinking that the hill that goes from the library's parking lot down to the playground, that could use like 5 trees. If you have any of these.
Yeah, well, we could put some of these snow-capped lilacs and red, but we could put an assortment. I mean, I'm looking, various sizes, but we could put maybe 2 large ones and a couple little ones.
But
I
I
think
would
we
like
have-
to,
yeah.
I would like to meet with Joe in the next, 2
Okay.
weeks. And
Well, we don't, yeah, you could start thinking about that, and then, so we're looking at Sellers Library, maybe at least 1 in there, and whatever is left over, there's plenty of room on the median. But we will have a meeting March 11th. So if we determine this is what we want to do, we can get specifically which tree will go where by March 11th.
Okay, I prefer that it was done before that, but that.
Okay, well, in February, whatever. I'm just saying that we've got 2 months before. But I feel like you have to go and walk on the site. We just can't do it on the computer so easily. If you think there might be room for 5 trees, you could go check it out or see how many you want to put there.
Because I can think of at least 3 very sizable stumps that are on the hill.
Yeah.
Trees have been removed from there.
Yeah.
And not replaced.
Well, this front yard linden is supposed to be a beautiful large and very low maintenance. That's what I read about it. So that probably would be, maybe put them both there. It's a big tree.
Okay.
But it says front yard, so apparently it's a large tree that still does okay in people's yards. So that sounds nice for the library. And then, always maples are nice. Then these red buds and these lilacs are smaller but pretty. And the skyline locust is, that's a fairly tall. There's a lot of them on the median, the skyline locust. They're very tough, and they survive well, and they get kind of tall, but they're lacy. They don't have big fat leaves. They have the more tendril-like leaves.
So you're talking about this spring planting the 17 remaining trees,
Right.
ordering 12 more.
Right, but we have to think about the next 12. Like because we haven't, this is kind of like our first meeting and the order's already due. It makes it a little more complicated. So that's like, do we have ideas? Does anybody who's joining the meeting one thing I have some ideas, but maybe not for this planting this spring. But here I was walking yesterday. Can you see this, my screen? These pictures of trees, or do you just see the?
I still see your.
Okay, so I have to go back to share screen, right? And pick something else. I've got to go back to the meeting. Trying to get back to this. Here I am. How do I get? Okay, if I hit share, I'm trying to see how to share a different document.
Right.
I'm going to stop the sharing for a moment and then go share screen again. Okay, I'll pick this and this. Okay, well, this one to start, share. Okay, you see that? That's a planting of trees.
Where's that?
That's 7600 Westchester Pike. It's on the side. They did this about just within the last 2 years. They did some remodel,
Oh, right.
and it's
Okay.
there's also some more trees on the corner there. But I don't know if we could do this spring, but I'm looking ahead that this kind of a thing throughout different parts of the township is nice. And because we also have the median planted, the two things start going together to create a different kind of environment just than just a flat concrete thing. So that's thought I had. Um, here's another. Let me stop share.
Just let me just say a couple things. One,
Okay.
just in case Evan and James, if you're unaware, the Shade Tree Commission buys and plants and tries to take care of trees on township property, right? So streetscapes or we did some plantings along Long Lane on the, I think it was 400 and 500 block. We're talking about Sellers Library and the median on Westchester Pike. So if you've any ideas about where, an area that could use trees that the township owns, right? Land that the township owns where that could use trees, that would be great. But I think we should probably scout around, Dolores, any members of the Shade Tree Commission, and like really come up with a plan before the end of February so that we know when we order the trees where they're going to go. We know we do spring and fall planting, so we should just start to get just a general plan together, even a list,
Right.
where all the trees could go, and then you just kind of check it off.
Yeah. And like over the summer, hopefully COVID will have enough people be getting vaccinated that we can start physically meeting again. I'm hoping, and then we will have more time to put together a plan for the fall than just a few weeks, right? For next fall. And it'll, hopefully things will start flowing better. So anyway, so I think we can take, now the thing is when we should be getting the paperwork for the PH order soon, and I'm going to check to see if it went to the township or if it can come to me or whatever. And when we pick out the trees, they usually put them in small, medium, and large categories. So we'll be kind of ordering them by February 12th, so we'll be a little blind because we haven't yet made the plan. So we just order an assortment of some medium and large and some small trees.
Well, I would say that we could start over the next, 5 or 6 weeks to already plan out where we want trees to go, and then we can figure out what trees we need for them.
I know, but they want the order back to them by February 12th. I mean, we need to pick out the species you want to buy by February 12th. We won't get them until April, so we have a couple months. So sometimes just pick out some. Well, the medium trees are still kind of tall, so maybe just hit mostly for medium-sized trees. You think? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll work with, even if Clyde didn't make it to this phone call tonight, when it comes time to ordering trees, maybe I'll discuss it with him because he's usually been.
Allison just texted me. So Karen Goldberg from Leisure Services, she's probably going to be the point person on this. She'll be like the new John McMullen.
Okay.
And her email address is kgoldberg@upperdarby.org.
K Gold, GOLDBERG.
Yep.
All right. Upper Darby's whole word, right? Okay.
Oh, whoops! Allison's texting me. That's not her email address.
All right.
Okay, and I'll just send it to you.
You can send it to me tomorrow or another time. Okay, so I think, taking care of the 17 trees between the library and then there's enough spots. A plan for another dozen is what we if you take up a bunch of, my feeling is we can finish, there are some holes in the median and other places that if we have some remaining trees, we can fill them in. So I'm not too worried about just purchasing some trees. on it. And then we have March and April, February, March and April to figure out exactly where they're going to go.
Okay.
And actually, and also once we figure out what we want to do with the 17 trees in March and how we use them, it'll be clearer what to do with the next 12. So that'll work. Now, you had asked me earlier about watering trees. Now, we have been very lucky in the last several years that it's been raining a lot, even too much. For instance, the summer before last, no trees even needed to be watered. We got so much rain. So it was very easy. Last summer, because of COVID, we didn't really plant a lot. And the tree tenders planted those 3 trees in the park. But we did it that was like the one heat spell. We had to water then. So if we're lucky enough that we're stuck staying in this wet cycle, we will have to look out to water when it gets dry, but maybe it won't be a huge burden. And what I'm hoping is we could get some gator bags. And the township did have a carboy that they used when they planted Baltimore pike. This was in the last 10 years that Clyde would know, but they worked with Lansdowne, and because we own part of that, and they planted Baltimore pike, and the township watered the trees on Baltimore pike. So if they could do it then, I feel like we should be able to do it now. And if we had gator bags, when it's really hot, if you just fill up the gator bag once a week or so, that might be enough.
How do they get filled up?
You have to put a hose or something in them. Like that, the carboy I saw, because Clyde and I mostly watered the Westchester Pike median ourselves, which was too much. But they came once or twice. It has a nozzle. The carboy has like a little hose and a spray nozzle, and they would go up and down, holding it over each tree for a certain amount of time. So you would just do that. You put it into the gator bag. It gets filled up, and what happens is the water leaches out slowly. So the tree really gets the whole water. It doesn't just spill out and run off. Now, Clyde said he had some gator bags, but I don't know how many that is. So I thought maybe we could purchase some more gator bags. And,
let me look into.
I think we can get through the spring if the climate stays as it has been. I'm not too worried about needing to water in the spring, but we could have some periods of time in the summer when the trees need watering.
I mean, I think we could ask tree tenders. I'm a tree tender.
Yeah.
And I volunteer. Like I've watered the 2 trees were planted on Long Green across from the township building, and I've been out there a couple times before it got really cold to water them.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind asking the tree tenders help, but I feel in the long run, if we ever did a big planting project, we have to be beginning to think about watering,
Right. Yeah.
Like I watered trees on the Westchester Pike, but I live near here. And actually I watered enough that my water bill like doubled. So water's more expensive. So it's something. Now, one thing we were fortunate too when we were watering the Westchester Pike trees, but we haven't done this in a long time because it hasn't been necessary, is that some of the businesses let us use their spigots, like Donahue Funeral Home did, some of the gas stations did. They were happy to see the trees, and that made it easier just because getting the water there is more than half the problem. Because I had some old cat litter buckets that hold almost 5 gallons, and they have a lid, but I'd be lifting them in and out of the car, and it's hard. So I was younger then, so the first summer I did 17 trees, and it's too much work. But I could do a couple trees, or if I felt they were going to die, I would run out and water them because I would.
Well, if every person took like 2 trees, I think we would, it would be good. And it could.
We can ask them. They have a meeting next week. Each person be responsible for 2 trees.
So excuse me, Dolores. So James Watts, we're not going to be able to see him or talk to him, but he's on the meeting, and he would like to be helpful planting trees. And he's in the chat. So, and he's gonna
Is he on the tree tenders list? I'm gonna ask him.
No.
He might be. If he gives me the email, okay, I'm typing to him.
Oh, he says he's going to be at the tree tenders meeting next week.
All right, so we'll talk about, we'll be talking about tree planting then. So he can hear us though, right?
Mhm.
Okay, James, so the tree tenders meeting is going to be next Thursday, and Bonnie sent out a link and she's going to send it out again. And so we'll be talking about plantings and things like maybe helping with watering. Now, usually the township personnel plant the township trees though, but I guess if he wanted to help, we could get his help. All right.
I thought you guys planted trees at Dermont Park last year.
We did 3 trees, 3 little baby trees, like the kinds that are in small pots. We were, Jamie, right? I can't think of her last name at the moment. Jamie Anderson asked Bonnie if we could plant. She had given us some trees. Jamie Anderson had given the tree tenders trees left over from a grant. So she asked if 3 of them could go in this spot. And that's why we did it. And then I know there was like some kickback for the tree tenders doing it. But
we're working on that too.
But that was an easy planting because they weren't the big bare root trees. It was still a little work. I mean, it was, but that was nice.
So I don't know, like, is there something else that you wanted to talk about? Because this seems
right. Well, we the immediate thing is planning for the spring. I want to at some point, and it can be later in the year, talk about some future projects. Like, is it possible that we could plant along 69th Street? Is that considered township property? Those sidewalks?
no.
Is it? We'd have to get what the business who owns the store owners to want to do that. Or maybe that's a future project. And then, oh, I know something. And again, we can work on this in the future. The role of the Shade Tree Commission in advising plantings and developments and redevelopments. Because by the time these plans get to the zoning board, it's really hard to have any input or make a difference. So if, I feel like the Shade Tree Commission should be at some point involved in the discussions when those things are being talked about. I mean, it doesn't mean we have any of the final say so, but we could have some input.
No, so it's not so much the zoning hearing board as the input would be before the land development.
Right. That's my point, because when a plan is put together and goes to the zoning board, a lot of the discussion's already over. Where then it's
No, a developer would go to the zoning hearing board to ask for any variances or special exceptions for the plan. Once they get or they don't get the variance,
right.
Then they put their land development plan together.
Right. Well, when it comes to land development plan, so maybe the Shade Tree Commission can have an opportunity to look it over, and the members can, have some comments or input on that.
So, Dolores, what I'm going to do is our next council meeting is the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
Get an announcement to get, interested residents
Right.
a resume by February 19th.
Okay.
And then we can figure out, who wants to be on and who can be
Right.
on the commission, and then council can vote on it on March 3rd. And then on March 11th, they can be there at the meeting.
Okay.
How does that sound?
That would be good. One more thought, and I guess I'll when I get Kay Goldberg's email, I can figure this out. I'm not sure if she needs to put through the tree order, like we might fill it out and she put it through. She definitely needs to be named on. Somebody from the township has to be named on the tree order. Even for the tree tenders, we have to have a name of a township person that, gives their okay to the tree order. So
Karen Goldberg was, you know, has worked with John for years.
Okay, good. And we need, it needs to have 2 or 3 tree tenders. So myself and Clyde, yeah, additional tree plant, I mean, 2 must be registered tree tenders. Well, Clyde and I guess, are registered tree tenders. And you are, if we really need a third.
Yeah.
Because actually, Clyde admitted to me he's not a tree tender. I think he's an honorary tree tender because he's a forest.
An arborist. Yeah.
I think they all know him, so they would never blanket his name. So, okay, so if I get to fill out the form, that's all I'll look at. All right, so you're going to talk to Joe Martin, right? And then we probably should have some we have a meeting maybe in February. We'll need to have a little communication about the tree order and potentially the trees for March. But when you talk to Joe Martin, we're looking at really anytime it's convenient in March, or as soon as it's warm enough, putting some trees in, those 17. And then the next batch of trees would come, they come around Earth Day, around April 20th, April 22nd, sometime around then. So if he knows that.
And Arbor Day is April 30th this year.
Oh.
And the Shade Tree Commission does take,
right.
That's an event.
Right, we have to think about that because, I mean, I'm not very comfortable with getting together with people till I've gotten vaccinated. Now, I don't know when I'll get vaccinated.
Right.
I will be 65 April 20th. So I'm not quite in the 65 and older group to get it advanced, but I might be anyway. Like I might plan to make an appointment for the day of April 20th. So I'm not sure about because the new virus, the new strain is more easily transmitted. And I happen to know a lot of people who have been taking precautions that are getting it. So, and it seems like it's really all over now. So I mean, if we could do some carefully socially distanced, smaller thing, I'll be up for that. But I guess we have to talk about that. Maybe think about that over during February, maybe have some discussion and then finalize an idea at our March meeting.
Okay, and then also like a place to have it. Yeah.
Well, I know Bonnie wanted to do the commemoration for the nursery. It is spring. I don't know, even if it's just one tree in the ground, in the spot where, I mean, it was if we say put just one tree down in the general area where the nursery might be, I don't know if that's been decided yet, but maybe it will be by April. Could we have some kind of a meeting? I don't know if it's a good idea yet to do something at a school because of COVID. We always did things at schools before. Or Sellers Library. If you're going to put 5 trees in at Sellers Library, that might not be a bad idea to have we could put 5 in, we could put them all in, and then we could save one or bring out a new one for one spot to put in on the day of the thing.
Yeah, I think I would rather have Arbor Day because the Shade Tree Commission is the lead on it. I'd rather have it at township property than school property. Well,
they've always, all the time I've been on the Shade Tree Commission, they've all been at the schools. But I like the idea of Sellers Library since we're already thinking of putting some trees in there. And that is a place where school kids, young people come there. Everybody comes there use it. That's a good idea. All right, so we could think about that and maybe rubber stamp that, or we could come to a final decision in March, right?
I think we'll come to it before March.
Okay.
Out of a public meeting, and then we'll announce it.
Okay. Well, if you don't have any other ideas, I like that idea because we're planning there. Usually, it is a place that they've planted that they have the meeting, the honorary thing at. Okay. So it's April 30th, Arbor Day.
And then we'll work on like getting an agenda together and really.
Right.
We'll have some new members, and we're going to be meeting virtually, for most of the year.
Right. Like, so we have our next formal meeting is March 11th, but we can always have as you said, we can have smaller meetings in between. So if you have anything comes up, you can always contact me. And if smaller numbers of people want to get together and work on this or that, we can. So what I'm going to do myself is I am going to more clearly scope out Westchester Pike for the spots I think trees would fit. And you're going to, and I mean, I could go to Sellers Library also. You know, I like to get hold of Bill Grant to come with me or to meet me there because he's the township person that, you know, checks on the marked spots. They have to still call 811 for any spot we want to plant.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if I get, the easiest way to do it is just to bring some stakes, and Clyde used to spray paint them orange or something. You put the stake in where you're considering the tree, and then the township comes out and can check them or move them a little bit if it's not the best place to put it. So, you want me to do that at Sellers, or do you want to come?
Yeah.
You know what, I could do it, and I can email you when I've done it, and you could go just take a look if you want to.
Okay, and I'm gonna scout out other places in the township.
Okay, so we'll be looking for places. So we have potential 29 trees. We have 17 that we already have, and 12 more coming. So we'll have a lot of spots for them.
And then also, and if Evan and James, if you want to go also and just look for township areas that could use trees, or even if they have dead trees, if we could hear back about that, then we can relay it to the parks guys for removal. Like, we have to get rid of bad trees too, because it doesn't look good, right?
Right. There's been a dying tree it's in front of what was McKillicuddy's, and I've been asking for 3 years for them to, or even longer. It died completely, and then it sprouted a little bit, but it's like dead branches with a teeny bit of sprouting, and it's got to come down. Now that
Did they plant it, or did we plant it?
It was an older tree. It has been, I don't know who, probably the township planted it, but it was there. It was already there when I moved here. So I came here around 2002. So it's probably been here for 20 or more years. I don't know how long it's been there. So things like that. Dead trees come down, and then put the new ones in next to that.
That's what they did on Long Lane, and it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, just looks better. If there's a tree pit with a tree in it, it's much better than an empty tree, or a tree pit with a dead tree in it.
Clyde has always said, if you plant a new tree near where an old tree was, the new tree follows the root system of the old tree. So it helps establish it. Plus the decaying old tree underground provides a kind of compost for the new tree. So it's take one down, put one in, next to it. In some cases, though, they can also use their grinder thing to grind out the stump. The township has that.
They do?
Well, they have, we use it for planting trees, because I've seen trees ground out. Well, we should check. It's that auger thing that they use to make holes. I think they could ground out a stump, but that is if maybe the stump can't be too big, but if it's just a deadish stump, I think they could. We'll check into that.
Okay. No, this is yes, I'll put out the call for resumes.
Okay.
A couple more people on here. We'll still have our public meetings, and we'll get together and get an agenda and all that kind of stuff too. So
all right, thank you then. I guess then we're done.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, we'll just I'll work on everybody work on spots for the next 3 weeks, all right?
Okay.
And we'll get that all together. All right.